A billion-dollar equipment war is tearing through the PGA Tour right now, and the world number one is sitting directly in the middle of it. This is not about one driver controversy. This is not about 1 week at one tournament. This is about a system where the brands that sponsor the world's best players are pushing equipment right to the edge of legality. And one two-time major champion already stood up in a press conference and said the integrity of the game is at stake. Scottie Scheffler just crossed $100 million in career earnings. He is sponsored by Nike, TaylorMade, Rolex, NetJets, Titleist, and Huntington Bank simultaneously, a commercial empire worth tens of millions of dollars. And last year, his closest competitor on tour implied, on the record, that Scheffler may have been using non-conforming equipment to win a major championship. Honestly, I think the equipment scandal that almost nobody covered properly from the 2025 PGA Championship is about to become the central story of the 2026 US Open, and Scheffler is carrying every piece of it on his back. Is the equipment arms race between billion-dollar brands a direct threat to competitive integrity, or is this just the natural evolution of elite sport? Drop it in the comments right now. And if you want the inside story on which brand deals are actually changing outcomes on the course, subscribe, because this goes much deeper than a driver swap.
Let's establish what is actually happening at the highest level of professional golf, because most coverage of this story has been deliberately vague. Scottie Scheffler is the world number one. He has won 20 PGA Tour events. He just became only the third player in history, alongside Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, to break through $100 million in career earnings on tour alone. That number does not include endorsements. The endorsements are where the real money lives. Scheffler wears Nike head to toe, apparel, footwear, cap, in a deal that industry sources estimate is worth 8 figures annually. He plays TaylorMade clubs under a multi-year contract signed in March 2022, immediately after his second PGA Tour win at Bay Hill. His bag carries Huntington Bank branding. On his wrist, a Rolex Submariner. He flies NetJets. He plays a Titleist Pro V1 ball, despite TaylorMade being his club sponsor, because ball and club deals are negotiated separately. He has just added Turtlebox audio to the portfolio. Scheffler has become commercially the most valuable player in professional golf, not by a small margin, by a considerable one. And that commercial value is now inseparable from a question that was asked publicly at a major championship and never properly answered. At the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, Rory McIlroy was forced to make a last-minute driver change after his TaylorMade driver was flagged during equipment testing. McIlroy had to pull it from his bag before his first round and scramble for a backup. He went on to win the Masters weeks later, but the driver scandal did not end with McIlroy. It extended directly to Scottie Scheffler, and what his Ryder Cup teammates said about it is the part of this story that should have been front-page news.
Xander Schauffele is the 2024 Open Championship and PGA Championship winner. He is one of the most respected presence in professional golf, measured, thoughtful, and deeply attentive to how the game operates at the elite level. He is not someone who makes reckless accusations. So when Schauffele went to a Golf Week reporter at the 2025 PGA Championship and said what he said, understand that he chose his words precisely. Scheffler was leading the tournament. He had, according to reports, switched from his primary driver to a backup during the event, the same kind of switch that had forced McIlroy's hand on the equipment testing issue. Schauffele was asked about it. He said, "I think Scottie is winning the tournament, and I think he switched to his backup too. See, you don't even know because he's so good. We can deal with it because the equipment reps are so good now." And then he went further. He said full field driver testing at majors should be mandatory. He said it's not right to just test 50 guys. It just doesn't make sense if you're in it for the spirit of the game. The whole point of it is to protect the integrity of the field. If you don't test everyone across the board, I don't think they're protecting the whole field. Let that land. A two-time major champion, Scheffler's own Ryder Cup teammate, standing in a press conference at a major championship, publicly questioning whether the testing system was protecting the field's integrity, while the player at the top of the leaderboard had just made an equipment change that was never fully investigated. You are a tour pro. You have spent your career within the rules. You have had your driver tested. You have adjusted your equipment every time a compliance call came. And the player who has been the most dominant force in the sport for 3 years is winning a major championship, while the two-time major champion who shares his locker room and his Ryder Cup team is publicly questioning whether the testing covers everyone, not anonymously, on the record, to a reporter, at the event. That is not a vague concern. That is an alarm. Should major championships test every single player's equipment, not just a random sample of 50? Or does the current system protect integrity well enough? And does it matter if the answer affects who's holding the trophy? Drop it below. I read every single one.
Here is why the next 2 weeks are critical for this specific story. The US Open at Shinnecock Hills begins June 18th. The USGA runs the equipment testing at US Opens, not the PGA Tour. They set their own standards, their own testing pool size, their own conformity protocols. and Scheffler arrives at Shinnecock carrying the tailor-made QI4D driver, the latest iteration of the same product line that produced the backup driver question at Quail Hollow last year. His caddy, Ted Scott, already publicly fraying after a 2-minute broadcast meltdown at Muirfield Village, will be making club selection calls under the most intense major pressure of the season. The last time the US Open was held at Shinnecock Hills, in 2018, the winning score was 1 over par. 1 over par. The USGA setup was so extreme that conditions became unplayable mid-round. The organization was forced to water the greens during competition, and they issued a public apology. They are going back, with a player who broke $100 million in earnings, carries 5 major brand logos on his person simultaneously, is playing out of a public composure crisis, and is chasing a career Grand Slam on his 30th birthday. The commercial empire Scheffler has built is extraordinary. It is also a set of pressures that did not exist for any other Grand Slam contender in the history of the sport.
Step back from Scheffler. Step back from TaylorMade. Step back from Nike and Titleist and Rolex and Huntington Bank. Imagine you are a player ranked 85th in the world. You are not TaylorMade's staff player. You are not Nike's face. You do not have a Rolex deal. You are playing equipment you partially fund yourself, using specs negotiated without a team of brand engineers behind you. You walk into the testing tent at a major. 50 players get tested. You may or may not be one of them. The player at the top of the leaderboard, who has a team of engineers and equipment reps dedicated specifically to maximizing his competitive edge within the rules, switched to a backup driver this week, and nobody flagged it because he was not in the testing pool. You watch him win. You watch his brand put out a press release. You watch the trophy presentation. This is not what equal competition looks like. The equipment arms race in professional golf is not about cheating. Nobody is suggesting Scheffler cheated. Schauffele did not say that. What Schauffele said is more uncomfortable than that. He said the system cannot see everything. And when the system cannot see everything, the players with the most sophisticated brand support, the ones with the biggest contracts, the biggest equipment budgets, the most dedicated reps, operate in a space the rules have not fully mapped. The brands are not breaking the rules. They are running faster than the rules can run. Does professional golf need mandatory full-field equipment testing at every major, or is the current partial system sufficient to protect competitive integrity? Drop your answer right now. Here's the moment that will define everything. Thursday morning at Shinnecock Hills, Scottie Scheffler on the first tee, Ted Scott next to him, TaylorMade QI4D in the bag, Nike on the cap, Titleist Pro V1 in his pocket, Rolex on his wrist, Huntington Bank on the bag, career Grand Slam on the line, 30th birthday on Sunday. The USGA will test equipment. They will not test everyone. The brands will be watching. The results will be used in marketing materials within hours of any win. And somewhere in the field will be Xander Schauffele, who already said publicly that the testing system does not protect the whole field. That is the story arriving at Shinnecock Hills in 11 days, not just the Grand Slam, the entire commercial architecture of elite golf, under the most scrutinizing lens in the sport. If you want the full inside story when the equipment testing results from Shinnecock come out, subscribe, because the brand war that exploded at Quail Hollow last year is heading to a course that has never been kind to anyone. This story is not over.
Now, here is the part of this story that nobody in golf media has connected, and it reframes everything we just covered. TaylorMade's dominance on the PGA Tour in 2026 is not subtle. Through the first 6 events of the 2026 season, every single winner on the PGA Tour had a TaylorMade fairway wood or mini driver in their bag. 100% of winners. The brand's win rate with fairway woods exceeded 60% across all of 2025. That is not a coincidence of talent. That is a product advantage so significant that the Tour's result sheet reads like a TaylorMade catalog. Chris Gotterup won twice with TaylorMade metal in the bag. Scottie Scheffler won the American Express with TaylorMade fairway woods. Colin Morikawa won Pebble Beach. Justin Rose won the Farmers. Jacob Bridgman won Riviera. All TaylorMade. And here's what nobody is talking about. Scottie Scheffler, TaylorMade's most valuable staff player, the face of their entire equipment line, the man whose wins they use to sell product globally, is also playing a Titleist Pro V1 ball, not a TaylorMade ball, Titleist, under a separate endorsement deal that runs alongside his TaylorMade club contract. This means the most commercially valuable golfer in the world is simultaneously the face of 2 competing equipment philosophies. His irons say TaylorMade, his ball says Titleist. His clubs are testing the absolute limits of conforming specifications, flagged enough at a major that his own teammate raised it publicly, while his ball sponsor is the same company that manufactures the golf balls being used in USGA rollback testing. The equipment wars of professional golf have always existed beneath the surface. Ben Hogan's clubs, Jack Nicklaus and Titleist, Tiger Woods and Nike. But those were sponsorships built around a player endorsing a brand. What is happening now is different.
Now the brands are engineering competitive advantages so significant that a random 50-player testing pool at a major cannot contain the question of conformity. The equipment is better than the testing system built to police it. Here is the question nobody at the USGA or TaylorMade will answer publicly. If every winner on tour has TaylorMade metal in the bag, and TaylorMade's most important staff player may have used a non-conforming backup driver at a major, and only 50 players are tested, who exactly is protecting the field? There is one voice who has pushed back against the idea that equipment brand deals are corrupting tour integrity, and it is the last name you might expect to defend the current system, Tiger Woods. Woods, who spent years at Nike in the sport's most famous equipment deal, who now sits on the PGA Tour Policy Board, and who chairs the Future Competition Committee, said at the Hero World Challenge in December that Brooks Koepka's return to the PGA Tour proves the system is working. He said the tour is about making it better. He said brand deals, equipment competition, and commercial sponsorships make the sport stronger. And in a narrow sense, he is right. Commercial competition between Nike and TaylorMade and Titleist and Callaway does drive product innovation. Scheffler using the best possible TaylorMade driver is not inherently corrupt. Rory McIlroy playing the best possible equipment is not a scandal. But here is where even Tiger's defense of the commercial ecosystem falls short. The testing system was not designed for an era where TaylorMade wins 100% of tour events in a 6-week stretch. It was not designed for an era where the most dominant player in the sport plays equipment from 3 different brands under 3 different sponsorship contracts simultaneously. And it was definitely not designed for an era where a 2-time major champion questions on the record at a major while the event is still being played, whether the field is being fully protected. Woods defends the system. The system was not built for this moment. Is Tiger Woods right that equipment brand competition makes professional golf stronger, or has the commercial arms race between brands grown beyond what the testing infrastructure can handle? Drop it in the comments.